When you were deployed and you were all over the place, what was the understanding, or maybe even the interpretation you had on how different Iran was dealing with Iran as a government and military than some of these other countries in the Middle East?
I mean, everyone that I fought in Iraq was Iranian mostly. All the electromagnetic force penetrators were Iranian. And so when you were in Iraq, you felt like you were fighting Iran in a lot of ways. So all the things that I studied originated from Iran. And that was my second war. The first one was when I was in Beirut. And again, Hezbollah was a lot of Iranian influence. So, I mean, I've spent a lot of my time dealing with proxy groups from Iran. And Iran's a major player in there. And, the United States has gone in and kind of destabilized everyone around them, Syria included in that. And now you've got Iran that kind of is just standing there by itself as the regional player.
What's their strength? What's their weakness? If you were to say, if you're going to attack them, if you're going to figure out a way to help their people revolt against them where democracy can come there, you would do it this way. But this is the one area their strength. You cannot beat them in this area.
I think Iran, much like China, strength and weakness is centralized control. And so you can play that against them, but it also can work to their advantage, where the United States sometimes takes more of a deliberate group of people coming to a consensus, where a government like Iran or China can move much quicker because of the autonomy and centralized control. And so the problem with centralized control is if you move in a direction very quickly and it's the wrong direction, now you've actually set yourself back a much further than you would in like a democratic process. So the democratic process is more resilient because we have a lot of voices that need to be heard, but at the same time, it doesn't move very quick and efficiently, whereas a centralized government can. And so that's what I see when I look at those two places. Now, Iran, I don't see the Communist Party of China going anywhere, but I don't think the Iranian, the Ayatollah Khomeini, I don't see him lasting very long, quite honestly. Crazier things have happened, but the Iranian people are very proud people, and they're connected technology-wise to the rest of the world, and they want to get, the Persians of the day were probably the top of the food chain, and they haven't been there in a long time. And so I'd be surprised, but crazier things have happened. But I see Iran going into a revolution in the next 30 years-ish before the end of my time, I believe.
In the next 30-year-ish?
Yeah. I'm not saying it'll happen anytime soon.
I got you.
I'm not saying it'll happen, but you can see the cracks in the foundation. And so this might take a couple decades, but it'll happen. So if I was a United States president, I would do everything to stay out of my own way, because as I study that model is destined for implosion on its own. And the worst thing America can do, because oftentimes when you attack a system, you unify the system. I mean, you saw it in the United States in 9/11. You can see it in Iraq. So if you attack the system, you unify the system. And so I would do everything I could not to unify the Iranian system, because that thing's headed to implosion on its own.
If your enemy's making a strategic mistake, don't interrupt them.
That's right.
That's old school, Sun Tzu. Yeah, very interesting in the concept of 30 years Iran. So China, but on the flip side, you said China, they're going to be around for a while.
I agree. Yeah, and I think China's continuing to get stronger. I've read a lot of things about how it's all a shell game and they're going to implode, but I'm not sure I agree with it. I think just the strength of their population and the some of the shortcuts that they're able to take right now that we don't take, based on a set of morals, whether that be right or wrong, they're accelerating at a much faster pace.
How wild it is that they're becoming allies, because China signed a $400 billion 25-year deal with Iran, and for them to unify, that some people say it makes it even tougher for a revolution to happen sooner, because they got the big guys on the other side defending them, backing them up.
I think the alliance between Russia, Iran, and China is an alliance of weakness. So mostly when you get into an alliance with someone, it's because you see the world through the same eyes and you stand for the same principles and values. That's not the case with Iran, China, and Russia. The reason they are aligned is because they got no one else to align to. And so when I look at that alliance, are they all powerhouses in their own right? And is that relevant? Yes. But at the same time, China doesn't want to be aligned to Iran. They just don't have anyone else they can align to.
Do you think it's a sign of weakness?
I do. I absolutely do.
Unpack that a little bit more.
I think it's like if I'm on a base level, if I'm on a playground and one kid gets all the other kids to follow his lead, and so I try to make friends with like two other kids that maybe are not part of the big group just because that's what's left. I mean, China doesn't get to pick its allies right now, right? Iran doesn't get to pick its allies because of just their behavior. And so, do they add value by aligning to the other outcasts? Sure, but to me, it's symptomatic of not having a lot of choices.
Right. It's almost like they don't have any friends.
That's right.
So it's like
That's right.
you have no friends. You're gonna hang out with the two other guys that have no friends.
Exactly.
And it's like no one else wants to hang. Like you're breaking it down to a playground. That's exactly what it is.
But quite honestly, even then, like that might even hurt you a little bit too, because now you've aligned yourself with Iran, right? And we could talk about the injustices of Iran for a while. Same thing with Russia. So it doesn't matter, Do they get some strength and value by selling arms or importing and exporting? Yes, absolutely they do. But on the long term, is it helping them? I'm not convinced.
You're talking about pariahs on the world stage.
But here's the question:
coming together.
If that's the case, then who is, in your opinion, the number one threat to U.S.? If you're saying it's a sign of weakness between Russia, China, and Iran, then who is U.S.'s number one enemy outside of internal?
No, it is China, no doubt. But I stand by that. Their alliance isn't. It's something based on what they had available, right? So is that a strength of theirs? I don't know.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.